Hey everyone, it's the Doom Dog. I suppose I should start off by apologizing for how long this video took to piece together. A lot of real life things kept getting in the way of me working on it. Between depression and anxiety and whatnot, my will and my drive to do this just disappeared. It resulted in me taking forever to do this video, and I'm sorry about that. Having said that, let's take a look at Jak and Daxter, the Precursor's legacy for the PlayStation 2. After seeing massive success on the PlayStation 1 with the Crash Bandicoot trilogy and helping shape 3D platformers as we know it, Naughty Dog was looking to expand on what they built and create a new experience. They wanted to take what they learned about smooth and fun movement creating the Crash games and combine it with a more open nature of the collectathon games that the Nintendo 64 wasn't so known for. They sought to create a giant seamless world that never paused to take you out of the experience. The team's biggest goal when creating this game was to make a big world with zero loading screens. They achieved this, and it remains an impressive achievement to this day. There are areas of the game where it does load, but it is hidden in clever ways when they do appear. When you are traveling to Misty Island, for example, there is a little cutscene of Jak and Daxter taking a boat out to it to disguise the game loading in the level. Even things like this never last too long. It feels cohesive, like you could run from one end of the world to another practically without a single loading screen. When Crash Bandicoot launched in the East, he was given a little bit of a redesign to appeal to the Eastern audience. And Naughty Dog wanted to change that with Jak. They wanted to create a character that appealed to both Western audiences and Japanese audiences. So they worked with Japanese and American teams at Sony to accomplish this. They did exactly what they set out to accomplish, as Japanese players felt Jak had a Western design and Western players saw anime influence with things like Jak's hair and ears. When creating Jak and Daxter, the Precursor's legacy, Naughty Dog went above and beyond to play to the strengths of the PlayStation 2. They developed their own in-house programming language called Goal that catered to the strengths of the PlayStation 2 and even drew extra power from the included PS1 hardware in every console. They were able to create something stunning and beautiful straight out of the gate that really showed off what the PS2 was capable of. But was it any good? Join me as we take a look at Jak and Daxter, the Precursor's legacy for the PlayStation 2. The game opens with a monologue from Samos the Sage. The world was once inhabited by an ancient race of beings called the Precursors. They disappeared long ago and left behind nothing but artifacts, ruins, and mysteries. They were masters of an important resource called Eco. According to Samos, the answers to their mysteries rely on a young boy named Jak who has the unique power to channel Eco. But Jak does seem uninterested in Samos and his studies of Eco. We find Jak and his friend Daxter on a boat headed for an island off in the distance called Misty Island. Samos has forbidden them to go there, but they are nothing if not defiant. On the island, they stumble upon the game's main antagonists, Gol and Maya, speaking to an army of enemies called Lurkers. They are discussing plans to seek out and find Eco and artifacts, and they are planning on attacking the village. Obviously, these guys are up to no good. As they are sneaking away from this secret meeting, Daxter trips over a Precursor artifact. When Jak picks it up, it lights up and activates. The two get discovered by a lurker, and Jak throws the artifact at him. Jak bumps Daxter and knocks him into a pool of dark ooze called Dark Eco. When Daxter emerges from it, he is changed into a small fuzzy creature that is a mix of an otter and a weasel called an ottsel. He handles this well.
Okay, I'm fine.
The pair make their way back to the village and step into Samos's hut to find out if there's anything that he can do to help Daxter out. This is our narrator. He knows exactly where the two have been, and he is not happy with them at all. Samos cannot change him back. The only person that has studied Dark Eco long enough to maybe do it is the Sage of Dark Eco, who lives far to the north. We need to pay him a visit. Getting there, however, is going to be something of a problem. The other Eco Sages saw fit to turn off their teleporters in their labs, and Samos has not heard from them in some time. Now I wonder why that might be. The end result is that you're gonna have to go there on foot. And there was a problem with this, too. In order to get to the next village, you must travel through a canyon between the two villages called Lava Canyon. As the name implies, severe heat is a major hindrance. Samos' daughter Kira enters the room with a suggestion of her own. She has a vehicle called an anti-grav zoomer that you can use to cross the canyon, but she will need to upgrade it before it will be able to do so. She says she will need 20 power cells to upgrade the heat shield on the zoomer, which will allow you to safely cross the canyon. She says that the town folks should have some power cells that they will be willing to part with if you complete tasks for them, and they will probably trade them for this world's currency called Precursor orbs. You should be able to find some out in the wild as well. Samos says that something is blocking his green eco collectors over on Sentinel Beach, and he wants you to head over there, figure out what is going on, and fix the problem. There are underground pipelines built by precursors that carry eco from one location to another, and spouts for them have been capped off. Kira says you should investigate the temple in the jungle to see if you can get it flowing again. The mayor says power to the village has been cut off as the eco beam has been blocked. He also wants you to go to the jungle and investigate this. Jack has an uncle in the village that enjoys exploring. He is planning such a trip in the future. He says that if you help him fund it, he will give you a power cell. There is an artist in the town who is missing his pet called a muse, and he cannot sculpt without the creature. He tasks you with finding it and bringing it back to him. The local farmer wants you to round up his yak owls and bring them back to the pen, and the local bird watcher is worried about an egg for a bird called a flut-flut. The mother has not been back for some time, and she wants to retrieve the egg to ensure that it remains safe. When you reach the egg on the beach, Jack pushes it off the ledge down onto the bedding that the bird watcher set up below. The egg cracks anyway, but the bird hatches from it just fine. There is a fisherman in the jungle who wants you to catch fish for him. If you catch enough for him, he will allow you to use his motorboat to get back to Misty Island in the jungle. Jack finds a switch that turns back on the pump for the blue eco, causing it to flow again. Jack hops on the boat and takes it back to Misty Island. After you've gathered the required 20 power cells, meet Kira at the mountain pass where she is prepping the zoomer. She says she has it up and ready to go, and she reminds you to turn on the portal in the Blue Sage's lab when you reach the other side. When you do this, Samos and Kira come through. The Blue Sage is missing and the village is under attack. Someone is tossing giant flaming boulders down into it. The way up to whoever is doing that is blocked by one such boulder. The Blue Sage built a levitation device to lift the rock, but you need more power cells in order to lift it. A local scientist has been studying wildlife called lightning moles. The lurkers have scared them to the surface and they are hard of seeing. They are having difficulty getting back to their hole underground, and she will trade you a power cell if you guide them back to their hole. Samos mentions that there is a lot of lurker activity over on Misty Island. They are trying to open the precursor silos full of dark eco, and Samos asks you to head back over there and put a stop to it. There is a gambler who lost a big bet and wants you to help him get back on his feet. He wants to bet on you beating a time trial on a nearby racetrack. A local knight has been defending the village from the lurkers until he got his ass kicked by the giant one that is throwing rocks down into the village. He is distraught and asks you to defeat the monster for him. He will give you a power cell if you do. When you gather enough power cells to power the levitation rig, meet Kira at the thing, and she powers the machine and lifts the boulder up, which clears the path for you to get up there and take down the lurker that is attacking the village. In a nearby bogging swamp, the lurkers are using a blimp to attempt to lift a Precursor robot out of it, and Kira has fitted the Flut with a saddle so that you can ride it around in the swamp. After you have beaten the lurker, you are free to cross the mountain pass to the next village. When you arrive at the mountain pass, however, you find out that the lurkers have rigged explosives at the other end to seal off the tunnel and prevent you from advancing. You need to race them to the explosives and take them out to put a stop to this before they get the chance to seal off the mountain pass. When you reach the other side, be sure to turn on the teleporter pad in the sage's hut, and Kira and Samos will join you. When you reach the last of the 4 tethers attached to the blimp, cut it loose and the blimp will go floating away. The Precursor robot will sink back down into the swamp. When you reach the next village, you find it abandoned. Turn on the teleporter and you find that the red sage is missing as well. Gol and Maya finally reappear here. Gol believes Dark Eco can be controlled, something even the Precursors could not do. He wants to open the Dark Eco silos and use their power to reshape the world. It dawns on Daxter that the guy that can change him back to normal is also the guy that they need to stop. In order to get through Gol and Maya's Citadel, you will need to go through another long heated stretch called the Lava Tube, and you will need to upgrade the heat shield of the Zoomer once more in order to cross that. You guessed it, this means that you need more power cells. You can find some in a nearby spider cave where the lurkers are trying to mine dark eco crystals. In the spider cave you will find that the lurkers are trying to dig up another Precursor robot. Put a stop to that. The only people left in this mining town are a couple of miners who have 4 power cells that they're willing to trade you for Precursor orbs. Meet Kira at the entrance to the lava tube, and she is working on the Zoomer again. She has upgraded the shield, which will allow you to cross the lava tube to Gol and Maya's Citadel. When you reach the other side, turn on the Yellow Sage's teleporter to allow Samos and Kira through. When you do reach the other side, only Kira comes through the teleporter. She says that her father has been kidnapped just like the rest of the sages. Gol works quick, I guess. They have enough Dark Eco to accomplish their plans, and an army of lurkers to help them do it. When you get to the Citadel, you find a giant Precursor robot stands before you. They have been using Precursor artifacts to build one in order to use it to open up the Dark Eco silos. Samos is here, and Gol and Maya are using the power of the sages to power their machinery. Rescue the sages, and they will use their combined power to bring down the shield, protecting the Precursor robot, allowing you to get in there and stop it once and for all. As you travel through the Citadel, you will come across and rescue the 4 sages. The Yellow Sage, the Blue Sage, the Red Sage, and finally Samos, the Green Sage. They all combine their powers together to lower the shield surrounding the robot. They will keep the shield down while Jak and Daxter figure out how to stop the robot for good. Gol says that you are too late. He will use Dark Eco to reshape the world. Samos warns him once again that this will only doom the world, but Gol and Maya do not listen. They get in their giant robot and the final battle begins. The sages combine their eco beams to create light eco, which was only previously rumored to exist. Daxter says that this could change him back to normal. How does he know this? He debates whether he should stay in Otzel and save the world or change back. But I have to question this. While I get that this is supposed to be a sacrifice, what is stopping the sages from creating more light eco after you finish off the robot? If you want him to stay an Otzel for the sequel, why couldn't you just have them try making more light eco, and light eco just doesn't work? I think that would have made more sense than what we are presented with here. Anyway, Jak picks up the light eco and he uses it to take out the robot. A part of it sinks down into the silo with Goal and Maya inside, and the silo is sealed, trapping them inside. There is a need for a new Dark Eco Sage, and it's suggested that Kira become that Sage. Samos wonders if Goal and Maya really are dead. If you got all the power cells, you get an extra scene where they use the power cells to open up a precursor door. Bright light shines through and everyone looks at it in awe. What is through this doorway? Well, that's what sequels are for. The story is not usually a focus of a 3D platformer, and that certainly is the case here. Jak and Daxter: The Precursor's legacy is no different, but it does more to set up the story than many a 3D platformer that inspired it. The game does set up some memorable characters. Kira and Samos are likable and memorable enough, and Daxter is the real standout. He is easily the most entertaining character in the game. He is funny and memorable. And the way he is animated and acted goes a long way to selling his personality. Beyond that, this game does a good job with the world building that is here. It gives you just enough info about the world of the Precursors to make you want to know more. You will explore numerous wildly different locations over the course of the game, and you will find numerous Precursor ruins. What did the artifacts do? What were the temples used for? What were the Precursors like, and what happened to them? It does an excellent job of capturing your interest just by having you explore the open levels. Another thing I really like is the way the world is built to be cohesive and interconnected. The Flut that you rescue from Sentinel Beach can be ridden in the Bonky Swamp and the Snowy Mountain. In order to get back to Misty Island, you need to catch fish for the fisherman, so he will let you use a speedboat. You need to speed it across the water ahead of the lurker sharks, which Daxter even brings up when he mentions that a shark took a bite out of the fisherman's regular boat. You cannot finish Sentinel Beach and stop the lurkers from bombing it until you turn on the blue eco vent in the jungle. It all goes a long way to making the world feel more fleshed out and real. One thing that I really like about the storytelling is the way that the characters are designed and animated and acted. There is a lot of life to their brief scenes, and the game goes a long way to give them at least some personality. These are usually used for humor, such as the hillbilly in the swamp asking you what a bathtub is.
Howdy, friends. Enjoying my beautiful swamp? On these here parts. Everything that doesn't sink into the mud, that is.
Judging by the smell, I'd wager your bathtub sank in the mud long ago.
What's a bathtub?
But it does go a long way towards making the characters more memorable and the world feel more believable as a result. Having said that, it is not all perfect. Each individual character outside of Daxter, Samos, Kira, Goal, and Maya really only get brief scenes. None of them are fleshed out, and they are all shallow characters at best. You can only do so much to flesh out characters when they were only given brief little scenes to flesh them out. The characters feel largely forgettable as an end result of this. I would like to have seen them be more fleshed out and given bigger roles than they actually are. Furthermore, Goal and Maya are largely absent from much of the story. After the intro cutscene where you first see them on Misty Island, you will not see them again for hours of the game until you are more than halfway done. Only when you reach the third and final village, the mining town, do they show up again. They are interesting villains for what little of them we actually do see, but I would have loved to have seen more of them over the course of the game. All in all, I do like this game's story overall. It is not perfect, but it sets up an interesting premise with a beautiful world. It leaves you wanting to explore it. It is not perfect, as most of the characters do leave something to be desired, but it does not have to be. It has to be a vehicle to drive the Collectathon 3D platformer gameplay, and it does a more than admirable job doing that while leaving room for sequels in the future. It does everything required of it, and it goes the extra mile beyond that with its world building and creation of a cohesive world. It is a fun, charming story, and it is exactly what this game needs. The story is pretty entertaining for what it is, but how does it hold up visually? When this game was released, it was something of a technical marvel. On top of making a disc-based game with no loading screens, it created a big open world with an amazing draw distance. You can climb up to high points and you can see parts of the world far off in the distance. It is impressive just how much Naughty Dog had mastered the PlayStation 2 hardware so early on. This game was gorgeous when it was new, and it is not hard to see why. It has been more than 2 decades since the game was released, but it still holds up remarkably well. The world is still full of detail, the draw distance is still impressive, the lack of load screens is still considered an impressive feature to this day when you can pull it off. The game still looks very good to this day, to the point where the remaster of it still looks very sharp. Even the PlayStation 2 original looks pretty good for its age. Another thing I love about this game is the color palette. This game is bright, it is vibrant, and it is beautiful. Sentinel Beach is bathed in warm hues that give off a homely vacation spot feeling that you would want from a beach. Snowy Mountain is based in cool colors that sell as a very cold and frozen winterland. And places like the Spider Cave and the Boggy Swamp are much darker color palettes that give off a more murky vibe. The color schemes are excellent, as is the variety in the landscapes. What holds up this game's graphics more than anything else is the art design. As you would expect from Naughty Dog, the art design is inspired and gorgeous. Everything from the characters to the world has been exaggerated and designed in a way that really stands out, gives the game a good Saturday morning cartoon vibe. This fits in perfectly with the characters and story that is being told here. It goes a long way to making each individual level distinct and memorable. Arguably the most standout feature of this game's graphics and presentation is its animation. Look at how Daxter animates when he hangs onto Jack's shoulder for dear life. Notice how Jack's fist gets larger when he throws a punch to exaggerate the movement and bring more life to it in a cartoony way. Check out how well animated the dances are when you acquire a new power cell in the game. Naughty Dog put a big emphasis on making sure the animation was top tier, and it shows. It is excellent. I cannot say the game is without fault graphically, however. You can see where the game has aged. The jagged edges and uneven rounding off geometry does show through more now than it would have back when this game was new. That is not the game's fault. It is just much older and on a much lower resolution console. It is going to age, and no amount of excellent art design is going to stop that. It's easy to forgive when the overall package still looks this good. There is one aspect of this game's graphics that is a little harder to forgive, as there is one area where I do think Naughty Dog dropped the ball a bit. It is fairly commonplace to use higher polygon models for in-game cutscenes than you do during gameplay. This allows for things like better facial expressions that sell the cutscenes. Jak and Daxter does not do this. It uses gameplay models for the cutscenes, and it shows. When you get close up of the characters' faces, it does stand out like a sore thumb, and I wish they would have used higher polygon models like they did in the second and third game. Having said that though, that really is my only major gripe with this game's graphics. Overall, this game holds up very well graphically. The art design is inspired and gorgeous. It uses color to great effect. The draw distance is awesome, the lack of load screens is still impressive, and the world is well constructed in general. It is a gorgeous game regardless of its age. Whether you are playing the original, the remaster, or the port to the PlayStation 4, you're in for a treat visually. This game is beautiful. What about the audio then? How does that hold up over time? In a word, well, very well in fact. The audio in this game is excellent, as you would expect from a company that brought you Crash Bandicoot before this. While the sound design is not quite as pivotal to a game like this as it is to something like horror or first-person shooter, Naughty Dog always goes above and beyond with audio, and this game is no different. All of Jak's moves have satisfying noises associated with them. When he throws a punch or breaks block, when he jumps and double jumps, when he smacks his head down hard into the ground, the audio is always satisfying. Breaking things leaves you with a desire to break more. This is important to know for a platformer's audio. It helps that your moveset is fun to pull off, it's great work, and I absolutely love it. Beyond that, the environmental sound effects are all quite good as well. The audio changes depending upon what kind of surface you're walking on. Dirt sounds different from grass, and snow has an appropriate crunch to it. Rock sounds different from all three. The flow of water and streams or lapping up on the shoreline sounds good. Firing Yellow Eco has a satisfying puff sound effect associated with it. Different enemies have their own noises that they make. Armored enemies will clank as they walk, for example. It's all great work. The music is not as memorable as it was in Crash Bandicoot, but it is not designed to be. This is much more subtle than it was in that game, and it is primarily used to set mood and tone for the different levels. In this sense, it does its job well. Sentinel Beach has warmer vibes, giving a relaxing summertime feel, while the music in the Snowy Mountain is appropriately colder with its atmosphere. Well, I cannot call it memorable. I cannot say it fails when what it set out to do either. It works well for this game. What more could you ask for? The voice acting might be the single biggest highlight. Max Casella is the standout voice in this. He voices Daxter, and he brings tons of personality and humor to the role. Daxter is my favorite character in this game, and this performance has a lot to do with that. Beyond that, Dee Snider, yes, that Dee Snider, turns in a good performance as the over-the-top villain Gull. The Fisherman is played by Kevin Conroy as well.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
He plays a small role in this game, but he knocks it out of the park as he always does. Another standout performance is Warren Burton as Samos the Sage. May he rest in peace. He brings so much energy and passion to this role, and his interactions with Daxter are the most entertaining part of this game. He is the only character in the game that has exactly 0 time for Daxter's shit. Anna Garduno is also excellent as Kira. All in all, this is a good voice cast. Even the minor characters that you do quests for Power Cells are well played in this game. The voice acting is quality across the board, and you would expect nothing less from Naughty Dog after how good it was in the Crash games. This game is the complete package from an audio perspective. The audio design is excellent, with satisfying noises for all of Jak's moves, as well as breaking boxes and attacking enemies. The voice acting ranges from good to great, without a single bad performance to be found in this game. The only weak spot, if you can call it that, is the music is not all that memorable. Even then, it is more background and mood-setting music than anything else, and it works fine for what it is. Overall, the audio of this game is top tier, especially for the era. The most important thing of any game is, of course, how it plays. This is especially true of a good 3D platformer. This begs the question, how does Jak and Daxter play? Well, this game is Galactathon. You will spend your time completing various platforming challenges in order to acquire Precursor orbs and Power Cells. On top of these in each area, there are 7 scout flights, which are little drones that Kira sent out to each area of the game in search of power cells. They were captured by lurkers and imprisoned in boxes. The game offers plenty of variety throughout its runtime as well. On top of your typical run-and platform challenges, you get 2 types of vehicle sections. The first of these 2 is the anti-grav zoomer. The zoomer sacrifices absolute precision for speed, and you will need that speed when you are doing things like a race time trial or trying to get through a superheated area before the zoomer overheats and explodes. The other vehicle type is not so much of a vehicle as it is Jak riding on the back of a large bird called a flut-flut. The flut-flut allows you to leap greater distances and flutter back down to the ground slowly. He can also walk across surfaces that Jak would usually sink into, such as the swamp. The flut-flut offers a lot more precision than the zoomer and much larger leaps. It is slower, however. The end result is that each one of these offers unique challenges that you do not get on foot. You will, however, spend most of your time on foot, jumping and exploring across various levels in this game. Jak's moveset includes a jump and a double jump. He can spin kick, as well as he can throw punches, and he can duck. If he is running when he ducks, he will execute a roll. If he is crouching when he throws a punch, he will perform an uppercut. This is the move that I use the absolute least while playing this game. His moveset is not incredibly expansive, but there's more than enough to get you through anything the game will throw at you. You can, of course, combine your moves. If you jump while rolling, you will do a long jump. If you spin kick while jumping or double jumping, you will be able to stay in the air for just a bit longer, giving you a little more control and time to land your jump. As you play it, you will learn to combine and master the different moves to find ways of solving the problems that the game throws at you. The moveset is plenty versatile, and it is easy to get the hang of, but can be difficult to master. The game also has a few different mini-games spread throughout its runtime that add to the game's variety as well. The most infamous of these is the fishing minigame. I have seen so many people say that this minigame is hard and unfair, and I'm not going to say that you're wrong. But I did not struggle with this minigame for too long, to be honest. I was not stuck on it for hours or anything like that. As previously mentioned, Jak can channel Eco. Yellow Eco allows him to fire a projectile at enemies. Blue Eco allows him to move faster, and Red Eco increases his attack power when he's throwing punches and kicks. Green Eco is your health. You collect 50 small ones or one large one to refill one single section of Jak's heart. Having said that, the boss fight against the big lurker throwing boulders did kick my ass for an extended period of time. It's not the boss itself. His attacks are not that hard to dodge. He is not that hard to defeat, at least in theory, but I kept missing my jumps when leaping from platform to platform. I kept falling into the lava over and over and over again while attempting to fight this guy. Maybe that is just me. I don't know, maybe I just sucked. But I struggled with this boss fight. Having a good moveset that can transition from one move to another is all fine and dandy, but it will do you no good if your controls are not precise. While you might be able to deal with slippery controls that are not always responsive in other genres of game, it is an absolute death blow to a platformer. Luckily enough, Jak controls like butter. It is smooth as silk and very precise. For the most part, your death will be on you and no one else. This game gives you the tools to overcome any challenge it throws at you, and instances of it feeling like bullshit or like it's not your fault for a death are rare. They are few and far between, as they should be for a good platformer. It is worth noting that you do not need to get every single power cell or precursor orb to beat the game. You only need to collect 72 power cells of the 101 in order to beat it. If one is giving you particular trouble, you can head somewhere else to try out another challenge, somewhere else to pick up some other power cell. In this regard, it does give the player a fair amount of choice in what power cells they do and do not want to chase if they just want to beat the game. The game also has 2,000 Precursor orbs in it. Just like with the power cells, you do not need to collect all of them in order to beat the game. If you miss a few or do not know how to reach a few, do not worry too much about it. As long as you collect enough to reach the 72 power cells to get you through the lava tube, you will be golden. If you do not want to worry about getting everything in the game, you absolutely do not have to. Trying to collect everything is a lot of fun though. This game does have a lot of standard fare for levels in this genre. There is plenty of variety within the game and its areas, but you will fight on a beach area. You will platform through a jungle area, there is a swamp area, and there is a snowy, icy area. All of these are pretty standard for this genre. In this way, the game can be called a little derivative for its genre, but none of this should matter if the level design is good, and this is Naughty Dog in top form. The level design is excellent. All in all, this is an extremely well-constructed platformer of the caliber that can only be crafted by a company at the top of their game. Jak and Daxter does pretty much everything right in terms of gameplay, and the end result is a tightly crafted, expertly constructed game that rises above the sum of its parts to be an absolute classic of the genre. If you love games like Super Mario 64, Ratchet and Clank, or Banjo-Kazooie, you owe it to yourself to play Jak and Daxter. It is an excellent platformer. What about the replay value then? Well, like I said, Jak and Daxter has quite a few purely optional power cells, and you get to pick and choose what of the 72 power cells you do and do not pick up. That alone gives it some replay value. If you manage to get all 101 power cells, you do unlock a secret ending that will set up for a sequel that would come years later. On top of that, the game is just an absolute blast to play through. What I'm saying is yes, Jak and Daxter does have plenty of replay value, even if you have already 100% in it. Jak and Daxter, the Precursor's legacy is the complete package. It has everything you could ask for from a collectathon platformer. It has some interesting and likable characters with a Saturday morning cartoon charm to them. It has wonderful animations, great sound design. The music sets the mood perfectly for the game, and the game is gorgeous. The levels are clever and well designed, and the control is precise and smooth. The act of controlling Jak is so much fun. I cannot recommend this game highly enough for anyone that loves a good 3D platformer. It holds up extremely well all these years later as one of the pillars of its genre. This is where I would usually talk about the different ports of the game, and I'm going to talk about some of them, but I do not have the PlayStation 4 emulated version of this game. And I do not have the cash to get it either. It will be left out of this section, and I am sorry about that. I do not know how good or bad that version is, but it does exist. You can get it on the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5. It is the easiest and most readily available way to access the game today. Having said that, it did receive a remaster on the PlayStation 3, along with Jak 2 and 3 as a collection. This version of the game plays at higher resolution than the original game did, of course, and it plays in the widescreen mode. This might be a deal breaker for some, as it is the kind of widescreen that crops off the top and bottom of the image as opposed to proper widescreen format. You get less of the picture than you do with the full screen version of the game. Still, it is a great collection and an excellent way to revisit the game if you can. Having said that, there is one specific project that I want to highlight called Open Goal. This is a fan project that has reverse engineered Jak and Daxter to make a native PC port. This version of the game supports much higher resolution all the way up to 4K. And it is edited to run in proper widescreen instead of the cropped version of the original game. This game has never looked better than it does. Even the remaster doesn't look as good as this. So thank you to the geniuses that made the native PC port of this game. The game has never looked so gorgeous before. It is unofficial though, so keep that in mind. But I want you to stop and think about just how impressive this is. Naughty Dog developed their own unique programming language for Jak and Daxter that catered to the strengths of the PlayStation 2 hardware. No one outside of Naughty Dog at the time has any experience with the programming language, so no one knows how it works. They had to dig into the code and figure out how everything works in order to get this game to run natively on PC. That is amazing. Thank you to the team at OpenGoal for your hard work. If you have a copy of the game, I cannot recommend the PC port enough. It is top tier. Thank you everyone for watching, and thanks once again for your patience in waiting for this. I spent entirely too much time putting this video off and not getting any work done on it. It took far too long to come out. I am not happy about that. I hope to not repeat this in the future. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. This was a blast to revisit. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell to make sure you get notifications. And if you could share this video, that would help out a lot. Talk to you later, everyone. Doomdog out.